Alright, welcome back to the 144,000 project. This will be video 14, You Are Gods. So here's our website, Anglo-Israel, YouTube channel, Rev9 video. We're on this teaching You Are Gods, and we're explaining all these connections all apply to the 12 tribes as gods, because God, Christ, so forth, the Spirit, only is attached to the 12 tribes, even if they're, and they're judged. We just read the judgment, end time judgment, and we're going to see more end time judgment, especially Daniel chapter 7, so on and so forth. And this is just connecting the dots of these two witnesses, the Lamb kingdoms, that the ones that hold on to the message of Christ, and so forth. And we'll see this as we go through verse by verse. So chapter 37, we had just kind of just got up to 37 verse 1. Alright, so this is the dry bones. Now obviously there's a lot of ideas about the dry bones. However, if you think about this, our context, I think, is clear. House of Israel, House of Israel, House of Judah, 12 tribes, the two witnesses, because they witnessed for Christ and always have. They called him the King of Righteousness, they called him various things, they called him the prophet, they called him the Messiah, but they still knew about it all along, all the way back to Abraham. So they've always, some amount of them have always called on Christ to help them, the Spirit, whatever, this angel, however they looked at it. Now, you can see all these people getting killed. Everybody knows the dry bones, a great army, it says. That's in 37:10. When came they revived, stood on their feet, a very, very great army. Well, yeah, exactly. It's a great army. That's what was killed in Revelation 11:7. Because if you read the lead up to it, the fire coming out of their mouth, that's what's going on. They're in war, but they're destroyed. So the military of the great nation and this commonwealth, which today would be, I guess we'd call it, American military and NATO and all that combined is destroyed. And what does it say? Fire is brought down from heaven, right? Okay, maybe there's a weapon. Didn't President Trump just create a space, what do you call it? Space association. I forget what the actual name was, but so we can have an army out in space, in other words, and protect if there's any war. Protect America if there's some kind of war that comes out, and obviously in the atmosphere and space, in other words, and I guess there's going to be some type of army out there and all that. Well, okay, isn't that what Revelation 11 is kind of talking about? Armies. They're consuming their enemies. That's how it reads. Just read chapter 11 up to 11:7. They're consuming their enemies. The blood, of course, is all the people, all the soldiers that are killed. It rains on them. It's the creeks and rivers and everything turns to blood from all the dead people that were just killed in this war. Fire comes out of the mouth of all these weapons, and then the dragon steps in. It says the beast, but like I said before, we saw 13:2 Revelation says the dragon's in control of the beast. Then in 13:7 the beast takes over, which is what's here in 11:7. It's this beast back here that's being destroyed, which is the two witnesses. And two witnesses are all these nations that speak different languages, you see, and all that. So that's how it fits together. And I've already taught all that stuff. So here, there's armies. So it's armies of people. Okay. And of course, the people, dry bones, so there's armies, apparently been dead. Well, you would have dry bones if it was nukes, and I already said it was nukes, so that pretty much burns all the flesh and everything off, and then would leave dry bones. Okay, so that would happen pretty fast. So it was a great army. Verse 11. son of Adam. These bones are all the house of Israel. So again, all the house of Israel is all 12 tribes. Again, it's a great nation, Commonwealth, United States, UK, NATO, blah blah blah. Taken over, their army is destroyed. Now, it says, our hope has faded, we are exterminated. So, obviously, today everybody says, oh, we can't do that, no one can do that. Okay, but maybe there's some weapon that we, no one said anything about. Now, the armies are exterminated. Okay. Be certain that I'll open your graves, bring you from your tombs, lead you to the soil of Israel. Then you will learn that I am the life. When I open your graves, bring you from your tombs, put my breath into you and revive you out of the life of promise, and will perform it. Isn't that what it says? The two witnesses are destroyed, but then after 3 days, I guess, what does it say? 3 days? They'll be restored to life, and then he'll say, come up here, and they'll go up to heaven. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what it says right here in the dry bones. Same thing. So, that's just speculation on my part, but I would say it does fit the context, because, if we continue on, second part of this, now you son of Adam, verse 16, select a stick. So people call this a two-stick prophecies, although some say 12 sticks. Mine actually says 12 sticks, not 2 sticks, because Judah starts out Judah, and for the sons of Israel, his companions, take another stick, so that would be 2, and write on it for Joseph, a stick for Ephraim, for all the house of Israel, their companions. So for Joseph then, it would be Ephraim, and join them one stick to another. So it'd have to be Ephraim, Manasseh, and Judah. So it would have to be 3 sticks, but depends on how you look at it. Judah, and then the other one being Ephraim, could be all 12 tribes in that context as well. Okay, one, take a stick of Joseph, which is next to Ephraim, and really Ephraim would be part of Joseph, but when you get to Revelation chapter 7, you don't have the tribe of Dan, and you don't have the tribe of Ephraim up there, but you have the tribe of Joseph, and you have the tribe of Manasseh. So, figure that one out. And the sticks, plural, so we're in 19, which is next to Ephraim, and the sticks of Israel, his companions. So that's why mine says 12 sticks. Join them to the stick of Judah. Okay, so Judah, stick of Joseph, which is next to Ephraim. So if the stick of Joseph is next to the stick of Ephraim, and there's a stick of Judah, then that's 3 sticks, not 2 sticks, right? That's why mine says 12 sticks. Make them one, thus should become one for my hand. So it's all 12 tribes being brought together under Christ. Same context as all the other prophecies. Then hold the sticks you've written in your hand. Say to them, thus says the mighty Lord, look, I will take the children of Israel from the hand of the heathen, which they have gone, in war. Collect them from around, lead them to their own land, so they'll be brought back. Same thing we've already read. Where I'll make them one nation on the mountain of Israel, and they shall have a single king to govern. Speaking of Christ, shall never again be 2 nations or divided into 2 kingdoms. So here again, it tells you all 12 tribes are divided into 2 nations or 2 kingdoms, which is called the 2 witnesses, because they witness for Christ. And in 13:11, they're called two lamb kingdoms. Okay, lamb kingdoms, Christian kingdoms. Okay, witnesses. I don't know what else they need to say. They will not defile themselves again with idols and pollution. So in other words, they're supposed to be following the message of Christ, right? For I'll rescue them from all their faults in which they've sinned and purify them. Again, 2 witnesses, 2 nations that witness for Christ. They shall be my people, and I will be their God. At least afterwards, in other words. Then my servant David shall reign over them, speaking of Christ, be their single shepherd. They will conduct themselves in my decrees, regard my institutions, and practice them, and rest in the country I gave to my servant Jacob. You shall reside in it, your sons and grandsons forever. Okay. Still, it's not talking about over there in the Middle East. It's talking about in these two nations, or these, actually Dan calls them empires, and they are empires. So that's what we are right now. We're an empire. That's what an empire is. It goes out and conquers the whole world. That's how you become an empire. And that's what Daniel chapter 7 calls it. My servant David shall be your prince, prince of peace. That's 25. I will then make a treaty of peace. It shall be an everlasting treaty. I will increase and fix my sanctuary amongst them forever. Think New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven, Revelation 21. I'll be the God, they'll be my people. Then the heathen will learn that I sanctify Israel, and my sanctuaries amongst them forever. It doesn't say anything about sanctifying anybody except Israel. All 12 tribes on top of that. So how can any pastor say, I don't know where they are? Of course, they have to be worshiping Christ in a country, a great nation of Christian people, and then other nations of Christian people, or at least they were founded that way originally, and we know who all these countries are. So all those countries founded on the message of Christ had to have been Israelites that founded them. So that's how all this, yeah. Just go over there in Europe, look around, I think you'll find them. All the same people, just look for all the white Anglo-Saxon nations that taught Christ and printed Bibles and tried to do that, at least. Alright, 38. Son of Adam. Then it gets into Gog and Magog, which again is in chapter 20. Revelation. Again, it kind of talks about, just like it does in Revelation, they're just going to come and attack, and then they're going to be destroyed. It says that they'll be in future time, so it's 38:16. Alright. Yeah, he says, when Gog arrives, that's verse 18, indignation, anger, promise at that time there'll be a great trembling. So, sure, tells you, I will execute justice upon him, Gog and Magog, 22, by disease, slaughter, pouring rain, so think hailstorm, hail of fire, and rain, brimstone. So again, sounds like missiles, nukes, so on, and nations who are with them. So it's a military coalition that come against his people, which just seems incredibly stupid, but whatever. When you read on 39, there's more about all 12 tribes being brought together. Daniel chapter 7. Now, interesting thing. Oops. No. A little bit farther up than I thought. Yeah, well, 7. It's a vision. 4 winds of the sky rush out upon the great sea, 4 great beasts. Alright, here it says beast. Starts out saying they're great beasts, but then it says the beasts are empires. Empire, okay, empire. Oh, here you go, verse 17. Alright, when you get down to 17, those 4 great beasts that you've seen are 4 empires. Okay. There are 4 empires, and the empires are all going to be in existence at the same time. 4 empires. Alright, keep that in mind. Which is called beast. So beast, then when we're looking at that in Revelation, it's talking about empires. Empires are large nations that go around and make war with other nations and take over control and install, governments like, democracies, for example. Okay. things they can control. They can put their own little dictators in there. From the seas, then, is the sea of people. It's not, you know, we know what an empire is, and where the empire is a sea of people. So it's, you know, it's one of these allegories. And we get the lion, like a lion with wings of an eagle. I think, now the way I taught that is, it's actually the two witnesses, in other words. And they go over and conquer these other empires. And they're just in control. It's kind of like continuity of government. In other words, if you lose a head here, you have continuity of government. So you can set up your head of your government and continue running the military machine from various places. You see, so it doesn't matter where. If you lose the head of government, you just start it up somewhere else. That's when we have continuity of government. Okay, so at any rate, but the lion with the wings like an eagle, first of all, it's two wings, has a human heart. So that would be his people, the two witnesses, the nations of the two witnesses. Okay. And I saw another beast like a second, a bear. Well, we call Russia a bear. In other words, it was commanded to arise and devour much flesh. So here, if we were talking about Russia, it would be devouring much flesh in war, in other words. And then I was looking, I saw another like a leopard. It had 4 wings, 4 heads, and life and dominion were given to it. So the leopard could be China or some military coalition of 4. It makes it 4 wings, in other words. Alright, then I noted a 4th beast, terrible, deadly, very strong. It had iron teeth. Again, think empire that destroys other nations in war. Devoured much, stamped and broke with the feet. The rest. So it just, in war, it destroyed these other beasts, these other empires. So it had the ability to make war and destroy the other ones. It was, however, different. Had 10 horns. Horns are kings or kingdoms. However you want to look at it. While I was reflecting about the horns, I was actually, the way I teach it, and you can look at my Revelation videos, I can't go through all that, but there are 2 sets of 10 leaders, kings, or horns, however you want to look at it. One set, actually, it turns out you have 11. So you have 11, you lose 3, which why you came out with 8 beasts. The other one has 10 leaders, but only for an hour. So they're very short-lived, and it's a different purpose. So there's 2. It's hard. It's easy to mix all that up. But anyway, I've taught all that in great detail. I spent hours and hours teaching all that. You'll see here a little horn, 3 of the former horns pulled up. Okay, so 10 horns. Then it said it got another horn. Then it lost 3 horns, so it turned out to be 8. Okay. But I observed eyes like human eyes, and a mouth speaking boastfully. I continued watching until the thrones were flung down. So these thrones then were these horns, because that's what kingdoms relate to. Okay. And the splendor of time, of course, is Christ. Okay. His robes glittered like snow, and the hair of his head was like clean wool. So of course, okay. So Christ comes, throws all the thrones down, and takes over control. His throne was flames of fire, its wheels flashing of fire, a river of fire proceedeth, flame before him, thousands of thousands served him, think angels, crowds on crowds stood before him. He set to judge, so think the white throne judgment, and the records were open. So, there you go. It's just simple as that. You have this war with these empires, so there's 4 empires then, 4 beasts, right? Then Christ just comes in, takes over. Okay, let's continue on. Verse 11. Alright, the boastful words that the horn spoke. Verse 11. I looked until the beast was slain, and its body destroyed, given to the burning fire. Okay. But the rest of the beasts had a period of dominion. Okay, wait a minute. The rest of the beasts. So you got one beast that destroyed the others. So one empire that took control of the others. So the dominating empire was destroyed, but the rest of the empires that were taken over had a period of dominion. So they're all in existence at the same time. This is not the same thing then. later on in Daniel, it's talking about all these empires, the Syrian Empire and all this stuff from historically, which, except for the 8th beast, which I don't even want to look over there and get into all that, the 8th beast, because of the oh jeez, just trying to think what it's called. Well, I don't even want to get into all that stuff. Alright, that's all in chapter 9 and 10 and all that. Okay. Here again, though, these had a period of dominion. So all these were in, at the same time, existed. Continue watching, verse 13, saw in the clouds of heaven one who was like a son of man, because it was the son of man, in other words. It's Christ, who advanced to the splendor of time and was introduced to him. So this would be then, the splendor of time then would be the Creator, and the Son, that's what it appears to be, and he gave him a dominion and glory and kingship. So that would be the Creator, Father, giving a dominion, glory, and kingship to the Son. And all nations, peoples, languages bowed to him. Okay, think nations of the 12 tribes and the people who are a part of the covenant. Okay. His dominion will dominate forever, not pass away. His empire will not be destroyed. The spirit of myself was pained, disturbed, advanced to one of the bystanders to inquire. Verse 17. Those 4 great beasts are 4 empires which will be established. The saints of the Most High will afterwards take the empire and possess it forever and forever and ever. So the saints, think saints, those 144,000 that were approved, plus others, which it just said, this great crowd. So there's a crowd of saints standing before him, which it said just above. Okay. They're going to take over the empire. So they're not leaving, in other words. Because the empire, of course, is already here. It's on earth. This empire is the empire of the 2 witnesses. Okay. So he's asking about the 4th beast. Well, it was different. Terrible, dreadful, teeth of iron. So, a very powerful military empire. Claws of brass, devouring, trampling, smashing the rest with its feet. So this one empire was able to take over all these other empires, even though there were great nations, great militaries and all that. It was still able to do it. And about the 10 hordes, the one that sprung up and 3 that fell before it. Okay, wait a minute. So there was 10 horns, 1 sprung up, that makes 11, 3 fell before it, which makes 8. That's how you get 8 in Revelation. That horn had eyes in the mouth, spoke boastfully, haughty expression, more than its companion, so it was boastful and how strong and more it was and all that, because it's controlled by Satan. But that's what it says. Chapter 13, scroll down, Revelation, chapter 13, says the dragon, obviously was the haughty one, was in control of these beasts. Right? So continue watching. That horn made war with the saints. So this horn making war with the saints is the one there in 11:7 that takes over, controls, and makes war with the 2 witnesses, which are the saints, the ones that witness for Christ. Okay? There's 2 empires. But they're defeated in 11:7. Okay? Till the splendor of time arrived, gave judgment for the saints of the Most High. Time came for the saints to possess the empires. 22. Okay. So the ones that are left are going to possess it. Plus any of those that died in Christ, in other words. Because it says it's thousands served him, crowds of crowds, so on and so forth. Okay. 4th beast is a 4th empire. It would be different from all the others. Devour the earth and thrash it and break it. And the 10 horns are 10 kingdoms. Or you can think 10 kings, kings over kingdoms, right? That will arise, but another will arise after them. So here it says the same thing. It said right back here in verse 20. It's 10, but another arise. So that's 11. it deposes 3 kings. Okay, so that's how you get 8 beasts. Also speak in opposition to the highest. Okay, opposition to the Creator, in other words. And persecute the saints of the Most High. So to persecute the saints of the 2 witnesses. So, like I said, most of the 2 witnesses are going to be destroyed. We already read all that. Only a few who understand this and study it in detail and want to understand it are given that knowledge of how all this connects from Christ. He enlightens you to what it means. So persecute the saints, determine to change the times, the laws, given into his hand for a period. Period's half a period. We think that's 3.5 years. Then the tribunal will sit. Its dominion will be terminated, destroyed, and abolished completely, just like it basically said back there in verse 9. When the empire and the dominion and grandeur of the empire under the whole heavens will be given to the holy people. So the holy people aren't leaving. They're going to be handed back this empire, which was what they already had. This great nation, this commonwealth, is going to be handed back to them. A lot of it's going to be destroyed, but Christ is going to rebuild it. And then once it's rebuilt, it'll be sustainable. We'll all have solar power. Well, obviously, not going to be polluting the earth with plastic and all this pollution, pumping it into the air and all that kind of thing. It'll be some type of sustainable earth, obviously, run by Christ. So we won't have all the dirty industry we have now, obviously. And he says the empire is an eternal empire. That's verse 27. So I'll be subject to Christ and serve him, Christ. That's the end of these affairs. There you go. Just a short thing on Revelation. So the point of it is, if you look at it again, this 4th empire then, if you look at it again, started out, there's 3 empires, and we get to the 4th empire. The 4th empire was the 1st empire. So it became the 2nd empire when it destroyed 1 empire. So when it destroyed another empire, now it's the 2nd empire. When it takes over another empire, in other words, then it becomes the 3rd empire. And when it takes over another empire, it becomes the 4th. There were 3 empires, and this beast took over and became the 4th. So the 4th beast was the 1st beast. It was a conquering military empire made up of the 2 witnesses originally. It's hard to understand, but I got all it laid out in other videos. So let's go to Hosea. Now this is the cross-reference from Romans chapter 9. Talks about Gentiles, and then it quotes Hosea 1:10-11 and Hosea 2:14-23. So those are quotes from Romans chapter 9, talking about Gentiles. The light of Christ is to go to the Gentiles, right? Except that it goes to these people in Hosea 1:10, which is good because you get to Hosea 1:10 and it tells you who these Gentiles are. Alright. And she had weaned, merciless she conceived, bore a son. Call his name not my people, for you are not my people, I will not be with you. And although the children of Israel were as numerous as the sand of the sea, it cannot be measured or counted, yet in the place where it was said of them, you are not my people, speaking of Israel, they shall be called the children of a living God. That's the whole concept of you are God, you're children of God. For I will collect the children of Judah and the children of Israel together, and they will appoint a single head for themselves, rise up for the earth for the great day of God's harvest. Yes. Okay. This harvest. It's the end of Revelation. And who's involved? Children of Israel, children of Judah, called the children of God. Right. Which is the context of you are God. You're children of God, born of the Spirit. Those that are of the Spirit, in other words, those that stick to the message of Christ, teach the Bible best they can. I'm just trying to help connect the dots. Now, this other quote 2:14-23. Okay. Yeah, well, you go over there. Talks about the figs. Okay. Punished for all, of course, all these things that were done. So here again. Lead her out in the country, speak to her heart, give her a vineyard. So 17. She came from Egypt. Alright, well, we know who came from Egypt in 12 tribes. Then she will call me her husband. Verse 18. No longer her master. So that's the end of Revelation, chapter 19. Well, she'll be, 12 tribes will be her call on Christ, her husband. I will take the names of her masters from her mouth. In other words, all the false gods she follows now. She'll no longer remember their names. I will also at that time make a new covenant for her, or a contract. Mine says contract. I think everybody says covenant. Maybe some say testament. Same context. That's verse 20. So again, at the end, when you're her husband, you'll have this contract. The law will be spirit. Law will be in your heart. That'll be it. You'll live with Christ. Rule with Christ from then on. That's why you're called gods. I break the earth, the bow, the sword, and war. So no more war, and men shall dwell in safety. That's the end of 20. I'll also wed you to myself forever. Verse 21. Wed you to myself in righteousness, as the King of righteousness, and justice, and gentleness, and mercy. I will wed you to myself in truth and knowledge of the ever-living. Well, there you go. So, after you're wed, then's when you have all this truth and knowledge of the ever-living written into your heart, and you have the Spirit of God, and you'll no more violate His laws. There'll be no more reason to judge you anymore, so you'll be judged this one last time. Because you just can't do it without Him, so I guess, I don't know, it's kind of a paradox, but whatever. Alright, so then you read on down. I'll plant her for me in the land, and have mercy on her who had none, though I said, not my people you are. And that goes right back to 1, 10, and 11. And she replied, you are my God. That also quotes 1 Peter 2:10, which is about the royal priesthood. The royal priesthood quotes right back over here. But in Romans 9, I guess that's 9:25, calls them Gentiles. But over here you can clearly see house of Israel, house of Judah. So they inserted the word Gentiles into Romans. If they wanted to sell it, they should have come over here to Hosea and changed Hosea too. Amazing. Easy to see. And so is Acts chapter 13. More Gentiles that are part of the 12 tribes. Alright, Micah 2:12. I'll gather the whole of you, Jacob will join Israel's fragments into one, will collect his sheep as a flock, its fold, make the murmur of men, the opener shall go up before them, unloose and they shall pass through the gate. Speaking of Christ, so obviously letting his sheep through the gate. They shall pass with their leader before them, so the Lord at their head, so that's about Christ. I cry, listen now, chiefs of Jacob, chapter 3, verse 1, and you, rulers of Israel's house, why have you no knowledge or judgment, hating the good but in love with the bad? Well, there you go. There you go. Verse 5, swindle my people by gnashing their teeth, speaking about preachers. Judgment and strength, tell Jacob his sin, verse 8, tell Israel his crimes. Chiefs of Jacob's house, listen to this, and the guides who hate justice in Israel's home, verse 9. The oppressors of all who do right. Okay, oppressing the Christian people. People who build Zion with blood and Jerusalem vice. Okay, run your porn industry and perpetual war industry, whose judges decree for a bribe, and that should pretty much sum it up. Teachers, priests only teach for their pay, prophets for money. There you go, hirelings. You just hire them, stand up on there and tell you things, and then they don't tell you what's really true. They don't really study. They just really just read other stuff that books and stuff and teach from that. I don't know. Some of them must study and teach good things, but never run into one. So, of course, this is all in context. We all go through this. It talks about the war, the end of times, end of all war, no more war. That's 4:3. 7 shepherds and 5:4. Of course, are the 7 churches in Revelation. Okay, rescue from Asher. Fragments of Jacob shall be in great nations, verse 6. Yeah. So they were captured in war, and then they'll be brought back, just like I said before. Israel, his people, Israel, my people, redeemed, verse chapter 6, Israel people. So, 5:9. But at that time I'll cut off your chariot drivers. Think, war, machinery, in other words. Cut off the town of your land, throw down your fortifications, cut witchcraft. Get rid of all of your evil, in other words. When I've destroyed those, in other words, who are attacking you, execute justice on the heathen who would never hear. Actually, that's Jews against Christ, because it's talking about his people. Jehovah will plead with his people, discuss, in other words, restore. Alright. And then we get back to 6:8. He has shown you what is right. What does the Lord seek from you? To administer justice, aright, love, mercy, walk humbly with God. And there you go. Alright. Rich or stuffed full of oppression, or populous speakers of lies. Verse 12. Exactly. Just watch TV. That's all it is. Just, of course, with all this going to be corrected. It talks about crimes, snake, blah, blah, blah. Alright, 5:9, 7:20. Oh, 7:20 is the last. So, what God would forgive sin like you? That's 18. Pardon faults that have broke his estate, not retaining his anger forever, for he feels its delight to be kind. Yes, so he's going to punish you for 3.5 years, and then bring you back, rebuild your country, but in better than before, and you'll have twice as many children as you had before the country was destroyed. Of course, he's speaking about the Christian people that he's restoring. So however many Israelites there were in the 2 witnesses, there'll be double afterwards. So, he returns and has mercy on us. So that's Christ, 19. Who will subdue our frailties, cast off all of our faults to the depths of the sea. So, in other words, redeem you, cast away your sins, giving truly to Jacob the promise to Abraham. Oh, wait a minute. Was that the promise to Abraham? That your sins were going to be cast off? It says this multiple times. We're going to see it. This is one place it says it, in Micah. That the promise to Abraham was to forgive the sins, and the sins are the 12 tribes, so it's talking about the posterity of Abraham. So Abraham, that's what 15:1 of Genesis is all about. This exceeding great reward then is the promise to Abraham to cast off the sins of his posterity at this future time. That was the promise. Should be easy to see because it says it multiple times. This is just once. Alright, let's go to Zechariah 4:11-14. Of course, that's about the 2 witnesses. And I'm saying that it's really the quote, then the 2 witnesses are this prophecy from Genesis 48:3-12. Alright, plus then the next part is Zechariah 8:6-16. So we'll look at 14, but everybody knows that. 4, that it's about the 2 witnesses because it's a cross-reference back from Revelation chapter 11. About the 2 olive trees, speaking to this angel. Great stone, it's talking about Zerubbabel. The day of small things, of course, this is the day of judgment, verse 10. Stone chosen by the hand of Zerubbabel. 7 eyes, of course, 7 eyes are 7 churches, which is what it says in Revelation, if you're reading that. Or the 2 olives on the right and left of the lamps. Or the 2 olive branches, that one on each side of the 2 golden feeders extended from the golden standard. He says, do you not know what they are? That's verse 13. I said, no, sir. So he said, those are the two sons of oil, or the two anointed sons who stand near the master of the earth. The master of the earth, of course, would be Christ or the Father. And the two sons, the anointed sons, were the ones that were anointed by Jacob, which is the context of the two witnesses of the prophecies. And there's more prophecies that we're going to get to in Genesis yet. Okay. Two witnesses. Witness for Christ. I understand people don't get it, but they should. Alright, chapter 10. 6 to 8. Okay. Alright, well, okay. This kind of, well, start on 3. My anger burns against the shepherds. I'll punish the leaders of the flocks. So it's talking about preachers, the ones who's going to be punished. For the ever-living visits his flock of the house of Judah. So we're on verse 3. Place them like horses arranged for battle. From him comes the leader, the director of the bow of war. From him every ruler. So in other words, the house of Judah then is the leadership of the war machinery and the people that are involved. Alright, we're like heroes trampling in the mud of the streets of the battle. So again, fighting because the ever-living is with them, so they throw down the riders and horses as well as the army. So in other words, they destroy other armies. Verse 6, for I will strengthen them, the house of Judah and the house of Joseph. Okay, so that's all 12 tribes. I will establish them because I pity, so they shall not be as castaways. For I am the ever-living God and will help them. Okay, oh, when God helps you, you're gods. You are gods, and the gods, the house of Israel, house of Joseph, who God helps specifically and fights for specifically. Ephraim will become a hero. Verse 7, hearts will rejoice, hearts will laugh, I'll whistle for and collect. When I visit them, they shall increase as they used to increase. So again, you'll have many children. You won't just have, one or two children. You'll have many, many children. And as I mentioned earlier, very few men, many wives. That's how it starts out. So maybe it'll just stay that way. Who knows? I sowed them among the peoples to a distance. Yes, once they were destroyed, they were put off into captivity. They will recollect me and revive with their children and return. For I will restore them from Egypt, collect from Asher, bring them to the land of Gilead, Lebanon, they shall not thirst. So here again, Middle East appears. Then he will cross the sea of distress, conquer the sea of willows, and all the channels of the river shall be dried. Pride of Asher rush down, scepter of Egypt be abolished. I shall be strong, march in his name, says the Lord. Well, then you should be praying for that if you're in captivity. Chapter 12. Okay. Ever living, extend the heavens, found the earth, formed the spirit of man in his breast. Look, I will make Jerusalem a cup of staggering to all the peoples. They will also be against Judah when besieging Jerusalem. Okay, so it just means the 12 tribes and Judah. At that time I'll make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all the people. Whoever carries it will be totally crushed. So those are the people against, in other words, the two witnesses. That's the concept. Heavy stone is Christ, which will crush. Just like the same context I said before, all those that come against you, I'll destroy it. Yet all the heathen of the earth will collect against it. Yeah, so all these nations are going to collect to destroy the countries of the two witnesses. It just won't happen because those that are left are his people, and they won't destroy. And those that he chose that went into captivity, if he's protecting them, they'll still come back as well. So some of them might not be a lot, but it'll be some, a remnant. At that time I'll strike every horse with madness, verse 4, and his rider with frenzy, and will open my eyes upon the house of Judah. Okay, well the horses, of course, is, think army. whatever they're being transported in, different things that make war in, so forth. Transport. Strike all the horsemen of the nations blind. The chieftains of Judah reflect. People of Jerusalem are my strength. So Judah will be the one directing the fight. In other words, the leaderships will come from Judah, but all of the rest of the 12 tribes will be emboldened by Christ. At that time, I'll make the chieftains of Judah fire great torch of fire to sheaves. They shall consume on the right and the left the whole of the people. So all the people that are against them will be consumed like a fire grate by the direction of the chieftains of Judah. Ever living first rescue the tents of Judah, the house of David, not exalt in its beauty. The beautiful sight of Jerusalem above Judah. Well, we'll figure that one out when it happens. Ever living will at the same time be a shield to the population of Jerusalem. Mine says defend. That's Christ the shield. Their feeble shall become at that time like David. The house of David shall become like a divine power. Okay? That divine power is used. Well, we never mentioned Zechariah chapter 5. Zechariah chapter 5, if you go back and look at my videos, in my description of all my videos, I get these 3 links in there. You go back and teach Zechariah chapter 5, which explains this, why this describes a nuclear weapon in chapter 5. And in verse 3 of chapter 5, that is the divine power that will go out. And that divine power over there is this nuclear weapon. It's a missile. That's what the stars falling there. They just see these incoming missiles. That's what they're seeing in chapter 9 of Revelation. That's the trumpet. The missile hits, makes a huge amount of noise. That's what it calls a trumpet. Okay. Alright, so when we're reading 12, all of Zechariah, I mean, jeez, it's just so much stuff here. But David shall become like a divine power. So that kind of indicates he's just destroying all the people that come against him. They're using nukes to destroy those that come against him, because it says it'll go out like a fire grate. Again, divine power over there, which is nukes, same context. That destroys them. That time I'll seek to destroy all the heathen who came against Jerusalem. Think 2 witnesses. Pour out upon the house of David, the population of Jerusalem, a spirit of kindness and compassion. They shall look upon him who they pierce, we're speaking about Christ, and mourn over him. Yeah. Now everybody sees Christ. Wow. We thought that was the end of it. And that, of course, cross references to John 19:37. We've got a Psalms 22:16 across here. You get 13, fountain open for David. So that's the fountain of life. And then in 13:2, I'll remove their preachers and foul spirit. So the preachers don't know what the heck they're doing. Alright, paying attention. Alright, we'll come back with Matthew and John, Acts, so on and so forth. And we'll finish up in Genesis, connect the dots. But this is the breadcrumb trail. A lot you could talk about in Zechariah. Because again, when you get to chapter 14, again, that's people who wasting away, flesh wasting away while they stand upon their feet and their eyes in their socket. And that's what happens when they get this hit by this extreme heat from one of these nukes, and they get caught in it. That heat just melts the flesh away, melts their eyes, and they just right on their feet. Of course, we know that, but at any rate, that's the description, chapter 14 as well, of Zechariah. Alright, well, we'll come back and we'll pick up here. I guess we'll come back with 15. at Matthew 10. You are God's. Thanks for watching.